everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be sharing with you my middle grade March TBR. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and no, I'm not talking about Christmas, I'm talking about middle grade March. Middle grade March is a month-long readathon focused on encouraging both young and old alike to pick up more middle grade. I, for one, think adults need to read more middle grade just because middle grade books are great. There's something there for both young and old alike. I get a lot out of middle grade books. They really move me, so hopefully this will encourage you to pick up more as well. Middle Grade March is hosted by Krista from Books and Jams, Amanda from The Curly Reader, and Katie from Life Between Words. They also have merch this year, so I was really excited to get my Middle Grade March mug. This is a really cute, great quality mug. It is dishwasher and microwave safe, which is always a good thing. They also have shirts and bookmarks, so I'll go ahead and link each of their pages down below, their announcement videos, as well as the link to the store. Now, I do have a lot of books to get through today, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. There are 5 prompts for Middle Grade March, and I am going to try to read books to fit each prompt. They also have a group read, which is Pony by R.J. Palacio. I'm not going to be reading that one along with them, but I am going to try to read through these prompts. The first prompt is going to be 5 or more words in the title, and I do have a couple of options here. My first one is going to be The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone by Jacqueline Moriarty. If you guys have been around any amount of time here on my channel, you know this has gone on and off my TBR so many times, but hopefully I will finally get to it this month. This story follows our main character, Bronte Meadowstone, and she has just received a telegram telling her that her parents have been killed by pirates. Now it's up to her to travel the kingdoms by herself to give different gifts to a different assortment of aunts. I think she has a farmer aunt, a veterinarian aunt, a pair of aunts who captain a cruise ship, a former rock star aunt. So all these different crazy family members. She's traveling along and kind of starts to realize that there may be more to this journey than meets the eye. This sounds like a really cute, fun, magical, adventurous story, and I'm really excited to read this one. I don't know if I'm going to get to this one or if it'll be one of the other books that I have in this category. But if I do happen to read this one, I will hopefully be buddy reading it with Liv from Liv's Library, because we have tried to buddy read this book so many times and still haven't gotten to it, so maybe this will be the month. The next book I have for this prompt is The Cavendish Home for Boys and Girls by Claire Legrand. This is another book that has gone on and off my TBR multiple times. It is one of the first books that I added to my Goodreads TBR whenever I first started Goodreads, so I definitely want to try to prioritize this one if I can. I have gone on and off just being interested in this book, and sometimes I'm really interested and sometimes I debate on unhauling it. But this time I actually flipped through and noticed there were full page pictures in the book, and they're really creepy. And you guys know I love my creepy books. So this one is about our main character, Victoria, and Victoria is this very well put together girl, and she befriends Lawrence, who is a little bit of a misfit, and she is determined to fix him. But then one day Lawrence disappears, and as Victoria starts to investigate his disappearance, she starts to find out that many kids in their town have started to disappear, and all roads seem to lead to the mysterious Cavendish Home for Boys and Girls, where kids come out smarter, prettier, and better, or they don't come out at all. This sounds like a really creepy, good option for somebody like me who loves spooky middle grades, so maybe I'll get to this one this month as well. The next book option that I have for this prompt, yes, I have many, is The Girl Who Speaks Fair by Sophie Anderson. I did read The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson, and I enjoyed that one, so I would like to give this one a try. This one follows our main character, Yonka, and Yonka was found abandoned in a bear cave as a baby, and she has always wondered where she's from. She tries to ignore the strange whispers and looks from the villagers, wishing she was as strong inside as she is on the outside. When Yonka has to flee her house looking for answers about who she really is, a journey far beyond anything she ever imagined begins. From icy rivers to smoldering mountains, meeting an ever-growing herd of extraordinary friends along the way. So, this sounds like a good one. Like I said, I did like Sophie Anderson's first book, so hopefully I will like this one too. And the last book that I have for this prompt is actually the first book that I put on my list to complete this prompt, and then I added 3 more. So this one is The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. I have heard such good things about this book, especially from Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin and Jade from JD Ray Reads. They are also middle grade gurus as far as I'm concerned on YouTube. So they have recommended this book so many times, and I just think it looks really fun. I love the pictures on the back and the front, like the illustrations just look really good. I don't know a lot about this except that this is about a train that travels through impossible places. There's a boy trapped in a snow globe, and there's a girl who's about to go on the adventure of a lifetime. Now, I do have 2 more books that would fit for the 5 words or more in a book title prompt, but they would also fit for the next prompt, which is contemporary. So the first book that I have here is The Truth as Told by Mason Buttle by Leslie Connor. So it's funny that I added these 2 books to my list because I don't read a lot of contemporary middle grade, but for some reason these books were calling out to me. So all I know is that this is about a kid named Mason Buttle. He is the biggest, sweatiest kid in his grade, and everyone knows he can barely read or write, but Mason's learning disabilities are compounded by grief. 15 months ago, Mason's best friend Benny Kilmartin turned up dead in the Buttle family's orchard. An investigation drags on, and Mason can't understand why Lieutenant Baird won't believe the story that Mason is told about that day. I don't want to read any more of the back, but that's essentially what the story's about, and I feel like every time I read a grief story, I really connect and I really enjoy it. This is also a Schneider Family Book Award and a National Book Award finalist, so I definitely want to pick this one up if I am able to. And then the next one, which also fits both of those prompts, is If This Were a Story by Beth Turley. This may have a little bit of magical realism in it because I know it's been compared to Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. So it may be a little bit of a stretch for contemporary, but to me, it sounds like a contemporary story. And this is about a girl named Hannah Geller. She's 10 years old. It says, tenacious, that means strong-willed. My mother calls me that. I wish I felt the same way. If this were a story, I would discover I was a direct descendant of a famous soldier who won countless battles and protected hundreds of people. This resilience running through my veins wouldn't be damaged by the classroom notes. It would be challenged. It would challenge bullies and prevent my parents from yelling at each other. But this is not a story. This is real life. My life is 10-year-old Hannah Geller, who's the only girl in 5th grade to have little red bumps on her face, is unable to let the sad thoughts escape her mind, and leaves heads-up pennies wherever she can to spread good luck, and who experiences magic in the most unlikely of places. So I feel like childhood Keisha could relate to childhood Hannah Geller, which is why I picked this one up. And if I get around to it, I do hope that I enjoy this one too. So continuing on in the contemporary category, I do have 2 graphic novels here that will hopefully allow me to read more middle grade this month. The first one is Katie the Cat Sitter by Colleen A.F. Venable, who is a National Book Award nominee, and Stephanie Yu. So I don't know anything about this book except that it's about Katie the Cat Sitter, and she is, I think, kind of like a superhero or something, or maybe she's not a superhero, but I just think she is because she's Katie the Cat Sitter, and that sounds like a superhero book. But it does sound really cute, so I wanted to pick this one up. The art style is really cute as well, so hopefully I'll like this one. I love picking up new graphic novels. And then the next one is Cece's Journal, The Adventures of Writing and Training by Joris Chamberlain Aurelie Naret. I apologize, I probably did not pronounce that name correctly, but this is about Cece. And Cece dreams of being a novelist. She keeps a journal for her notes, scrapbook pieces, and doodles about the mysteries she encounters every day. And her favorite subject is people, so she observes people a lot in this. And I just think this is a really cool setup because it is set up like a graphic novel, but then you also have pages that look more like her journal and a scrapbook, and I think that's really cool. So I'm excited to check this one out too. I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about it, but we all know that I love middle grade, so hopefully these will be new favorites. The next prompt is to read a book with an orphan main character, and the first book that I have for that is Anyone But Ivy Pocket by Caleb Crisp. I've had these books on my shelves for a long time. This is the first book in, I believe, a trilogy, and the reason that I picked them up is because they look like, okay, let's just be real. It reminds me of Coraline, it reminds me of Tim Burton's artwork, and I think that this would be a really good book for me to read, one that I would enjoy. I hope that I enjoy it. There are really awesome illustrations throughout, which, as you can see, they do look very Tim Burton, Henry Selick-esque. And I don't know a lot about this, except that Ivy is an orphan, and she's the girl that everybody tries to avoid. She is a walking disaster who causes mayhem, misunderstandings, and mischief wherever she goes. So knowing this about Ivy Pocket, would you ask her to deliver a totally priceless, incredibly beautiful, and possibly cursed diamond necklace to Matilda Butterfield in time for her 12th birthday ball? No. You would ask anyone but Ivy Pocket. Alas, that is not what happens in this story. So this sounds really cute. I hope that I love it. If anything, I'll love the illustrations. But this is my first book for the orphan main character prompt. And the next one is going to be Winter House by Ben Gooderson. I've really been wanting to start this series as well. I think this is also a trilogy, and I've heard good things about it. It's a mystery, but I think there might be a little bit of fantasy or paranormal in there as well. And I also love that this is kind of like a window. Well, it literally is the windows. It does the whole uncovering thing. So I love that about these books. I don't know a lot about it except that it follows Orphan Elizabeth Summers, and she is at Winter House Hotel. One of the most notable things that Elizabeth notices about the hotel is that it has a massive library, which, hello, I'm there, please take me. But she also finds this magical book of puzzles that will unlock a mystery involving Norbridge and his sinister family, which Norbridge Falls is where they're staying in Winter House. So yeah, this just sounds really good. It says mystery, adventure, and beautiful writing combined in this exciting debut set with a hotel full of secrets. So definitely sounds like my cup of tea, and I hope that I'm able to get to this one. The next prompt is a book set in Asia or with an Asian main character. And for this prompt, I chose The Last Cherry Blossom by Kathleen Birkinshaw. I have never heard anybody talk about this book before, but I thought that the subject matter was really interesting. It follows a girl whose family experiences the bombing in Hiroshima during World War II. The back of the book says, Yuriko was happy growing up in Hiroshima when it was just her and her papa. But her aunt Kimoko and her cousin Jinji are living with them now, and the family is only getting bigger with talk of a double marriage. And while things are changing at home, the world beyond their doors is even more unpredictable. World War II is coming to an end, and since the Japanese newspapers don't report lost battles, the Japanese people are not entirely certain of where Japan stands. Yuriko is used to the sirens and the air raid drills, but things start to feel more real when the neighbors who have left to fight stop coming home. When the bombs hit Hiroshima, it's through Yuriko's 12-year-old eyes that we witness the devastation and horror. This is a story that offers young readers insight into how children lived during the war while also introducing them to Japanese culture. Based loosely on author Kathleen Birkinshaw's mother's first-hand experience surviving the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, The Last Cherry Blossom hopes to warn readers of the immense damage nuclear war can bring while reminding them that the enemy in any war is often not so different from ourselves. So this just sounds like it's going to be extremely hard-hitting. This book has a number of awards listed at the top. Like I said, I've never heard anybody talk about this one. I know it's said to relate to another book that came before it. I'm not sure what that book was. I can't remember. Some of you guys may know, but this definitely sounds like a deep, hard-hitting story, and I'm really intrigued to learn more from this family's perspective about Hiroshima. The next prompt is to read a book that is older than you, and I was born in 1993, so there are quite a few books and classics that are older than me. I have a couple of options here. I have one that's a little bit longer and one that's shorter that I can get to if I don't get to the longer one. So we'll go ahead and start with the longer one, and I'll just say this is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. No, I have not read it yet. No, I don't really know what it's about, but most of you guys do, so I'm not going to go into it by saying much. I just know it's about this girl named Mary in the Secret Garden. So this is a really beautiful edition of the book, so I'm really glad to own it, and I love that if the dust jacket gets messed up, I don't have to worry about it because it's the same underneath. I'm really excited to read this, and if I read it, I would really like to watch all of the adaptations. I think there's at least 2 movies that I know about. There's probably more, and I would love to see the adaptations after reading the book. And then if I'm not able to get to a longer book, because this one seems a little bit longer, I'm going to reread The BFG by Roald Dahl. And I read this when I was in middle school, and it was one of my favorite books then, so I'd like to reread it and see if it upholds now. It's just about this giant and this little girl, and I don't really remember anything else about it, but it's Roald Dahl, and I love him, so we're just going to give this one a try as an adult and see if it holds up. So that is all of the prompts. There were just 5, but I have 5 more books that I want to read this month, so I'm going to share those with you too. The first one is Pages & Co. The Book Wanderers by Anna James, also known as Tilly and the Book Wanderers if you're in the UK. This is a story about a girl named Tilly Pages, and she has always found comfort in the stories at Pages & Co., which is her grandparents' bookshop. But then some of her favorite characters like Anne of Green Gables and Alice from Wonderland start showing up at the shop, and she ends up figuring out that not only can they come out of their stories, but she can go into these different books. And I believe her mother went missing or something. Yeah, her mother went missing, and now she's possibly going to uncover what happened to her mother. So this sounds like a really fun story. This is actually my middle grade book club pick for the month. This is what we're reading with my Booklights H12-year-old group that I read with. They picked this one out, and it has been on my shelves for a long time, so I'm glad that I finally get to read this with them. Next, I have Juniper Berry by M.P. Kozlowski. This was really just calling out to me. It is a shorter book, and it says that it recalls the works of Neil Gaiman, Lemony Snicket, and Hans Christian Andersen. So I'm like, sign me up. I don't really know what this one's about. I think these kids' parents, like there's something wrong with them. They're just like different. It makes me wonder if it's kind of like a changeling type thing, but with the parents. I don't really know anything about this, but like I said, it sounds really good. And there's some creepy pictures in here too. So yeah, right up my alley. And then I also want to pick up the third book in Victoria Schwab's Cassie Blake series. That's going to be Bridge of Souls. I've been putting this off because I know that she is not continuing on with the series, at least not right now. And if she does continue on in the future, they're in arcs of 3. So there will be 3 more out in the future if she does continue. But you guys have probably heard me talk about this on my channel a lot, so I'll try to make it brief. This story follows Cassie Blake. She had a near-death experience. She has a best friend named Jacob who's a ghost. She can now see ghosts. She sees through the veil. And her parents are like ghost hunters, and they have this TV show where they go to the world's like most haunted places. And so each of the books have gone to different places. This one is going to be in New Orleans, and I'm really excited about it because that is a little bit closer to home for me. I don't live in Louisiana, but it is closer than the other 2 books have been like in England. So I'm really excited about this, and hopefully this will wrap up well because I know I won't get any more from Cassie Blake, at least for a little while. Next, I have another third book in a series, and that is Dark Waters by Catherine Arden. You guys know that I love small spaces and dead voices. This series is so good. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely need to. I can't really tell you about Dark Waters unless you've read like the previous books, but it still follows our main characters, Ollie, Coco, and Brian. The first adventure they had was with some creepy scarecrows and the Smiling Man. The second book was in like a hotel. It was like a ski resort, and it was more like paranormal, creepy. I can't really say a lot, like chilled to the bone because it was at a ski lodge. This one is going to follow at the sea, and there's like a Loch Ness monster possibly. So I'm really excited to continue on with this. And I am going to be buddy reading both of these books with Ashley from the Bent Biblios podcast. And I forgot to mention that I'm also going to be buddy reading The Book Wanderers with Ashley and Tegan from the Bent Biblios podcast. And then the last book on my list, I know this is lengthy, is The Keeper by Guadalupe Garcia McCall. I have been so excited about this book. It came out last month, and it is based on true events. So I'm not sure if this is like, I don't think this is a true story, but I think it's either based on a true story or it's based on things that have happened like this in real life. I'm really excited to figure out kind of how it translates into true story, but this is about a boy named James, and he has moved from Texas, and now he's living in Oregon, and he's kind of been the boy who cries wolf. So nobody ever believes him when he says stuff, but he starts receiving these letters from someone called The Keeper, and he feels like he and his sister are in danger now, but nobody believes him. They think he's just pulling another prank. So I'm excited to get to this one. I'm not waiting for spooky season. This just sounds too good. Okay, so I think I have like 18 books that I'm aspiring to read this month. I definitely don't think I'll get to all of them, especially knowing that I've been in a little bit more of a reading slump through February, but hopefully I can at least fulfill the prompts and read some great middle grade books. I highly encourage you guys to check out more middle grade because middle grade has just made my life even better. Middle grade books are highly underrated, so I definitely think if you're an adult out there who doesn't read a lot of middle grade and you have kids, pick one up with your kid. I don't have kids, but I pick them up and read them to Jovi, my dog, who looked at me when I said her name. Sometimes I do read out loud to her, but middle grade books just have a special place in my heart. I hope that today you found some books that intrigued you that you might want to pick up for middle grade March. And I also have other videos on my channel with middle grade recommendations. So if you haven't found anything here today, hopefully you can find something there. But thank you to Krista, Amanda, and Katie for hosting such an awesome month-long readathon for middle grade books and middle grade lovers like me. I appreciate you guys, and I also appreciate all of you watching out there. You guys know that I would not be here without you. I just recently hit 1K, so I wanted to say thank you so much for that. I love talking about books with you guys. I've loved making new friendships online here, so thank you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.